Hi everyone, Floyd Meyer here. I'm a physician assistant with a master's in public health, a degree in molecular biology, and I'm currently working in physical medicine and rehabilitation. Today we're going to be continuing our series on resilience, which is the ability to remain well, recover, or even thrive in the face of adversity. Last week we started our conversation on nutrition and how it relates to resilience, specifically talking about how obesity is a big risk factor, not just for chronic disease, but now it's associated with severe complications from COVID. And this week we're going to move from the macro to the micro, and we are going to discuss this importance of your micronutrient status when it comes to your overall resilience, specifically your immune resilience, and how to optimize our own immune function through nutrition. Most people know that we need certain vitamins and minerals in order to prevent severe diseases. For example, we know that we need some level of vitamin C in order to prevent scurvy, and that we need vitamin D in order to prevent rickets. What we do not spend very much time on and how much time discussing is how to ensure an optimal micronutrient status to provide an available pool of resources for when the time comes when you experience some type of an added stressor. Now, according to a review in the British medical journal Nutrition and Prevention and Health, quote, "The immune system is always active, carrying out surveillance, but its activity is enhanced if an individual becomes infected. This heightened activity is accompanied by an increased rate of metabolism, requiring energy sources, substrates for biosynthesis, and the regulatory molecules." Now, these energy sources, substrates, and regulatory molecules are ultimately derived from the diet. Hence, an adequate supply of a wide range of nutrients is essential to support the immune system to function optimally. Another article in the journal Nutrients states that, quote, "A wealth of mechanistic and clinical data shows that vitamins, including vitamins A, B6, B12, C, D, E, folate, trace elements like zinc, iron, selenium, magnesium, and copper, and the omega-3 fatty acids play important and complementary roles in supporting the immune system. Inadequate intake and status of these nutrients are widespread, leading to a decrease in resistance to infection and, as a consequence, an increase in disease burden." So this brings us to the idea of triage theory, and this is an idea that was put forward by the scientist Bruce Ames, which is an amazing world-renowned scientist who has published numerous journal articles that have been cited for multiple different fields. So he put forward this idea, and it makes a lot of sense. So we're going to kind of go through the idea of that and why it relates to immune resilience. So we can look at vitamin K for a specific example of this triage theory in action. So vitamin K is a cofactor that is necessary for us to repair DNA damage. And that's something that's extremely important when it comes to living a long, healthy life free of disease, free of cancer, and things like that. But vitamin K is also extremely necessary for blood clotting for when you accidentally cut yourself. And so if you have low levels of vitamin K, where do you think the body is going to send that limited pool of vitamin K that you do have? Well, obviously it's going to send it for blood clotting, because that is what is involved in short-term survival. And that's what our bodies are designed for. That's what evolution cares about, is short-term survival so that we can reproduce and pass on our genes. It's less concerned about our long-term health. So if you have a limited pool of vitamin K and you only have enough to clot your blood, but then you do not have enough of it to repair DNA damage, you are going to slowly accumulate DNA damage because you do not have the available vitamin K for that other reason. Now, things get even more complicated when you start adding in a significantly stressful event, which is going to increase our need for these limited resources. So, for example, if someone gets an acute infection, they are going to need even more of these micronutrients, the ones that we discussed earlier, the vitamin C, the zincs, things like that, your body is going to need even more of that in order to mount an effective immune response to some type of an invader. So it's not just about having enough micronutrients around in order to prevent diseases like scurvy. It's about ensuring an optimal level of these micronutrients for the inevitable time that you need that increased pool of resources to deal with some type of a significant stressor. So you want optimal levels of micronutrients in order to be resilient. Now, unfortunately, we do not have very good scientific consensus on what the exact levels of these micronutrients, like what is the optimal level of these micronutrients, because it's difficult to test things, especially when we're looking at long-term survival. It's very difficult to get a study to test things, over the course of, 5-6 decades. It's difficult to get those types of tests. But there are some things that you can do today in order to ensure that you are getting enough of these micronutrients. So there are 3 main things that we're going to be discussing. And the first is to make sure that you are eating 7 to 9 servings of vegetables and fruit each day. And yes, I understand that that is a lot of vegetables, probably more than most of you have ever eaten in a day consistently. But that is the number that is recommended in order to ensure that you are getting enough micronutrients in your body. And so if you are eating this large amount of vegetables and fruit, and it can't just be fruit, it really needs to be vegetables and fruit. If you're just eating, a large bowl of fruit each day, you're going to be getting some micronutrients, but you need to really make sure that you're eating also vegetables because they carry different micronutrient profiles. So you're going to make sure that you're getting enough of all of them. And second is to make sure that you are eating the rainbow, and the chemicals that give the fruits and vegetables their different colors are going to be a sign of which micronutrients that fruit or that vegetable is actually carrying and what they can provide you. So the different colors are going to be signs of different types of chemicals that are going to provide you with this increased pool of resources for when you end up having some type of a stressful situation and your body needs those extra resources. And the third is to supplement appropriately. As stated, the optimal micronutrient levels for resilience are not exactly known. But an article in the British medical journal Nutrition and Prevention in Health said that, quote, consumption of a diet of diverse and varied plant-based and animal-based foods that is consistent with current healthy eating guidelines would be best to support the immune system. However, human trials suggest that the intakes of some of the micronutrients like vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, needed to optimally support the immune system are in excess of intakes than can be easily achieved through diet alone. And in this case, supplementation might be considered. So it's never been more important to ensure an optimal micronutrient status to increase your overall resilience. Unfortunately, Americans tend to be excessively deficient in a number of different vitamins and minerals. 70% of Americans do not get enough vitamin D, and about 45% of people are not getting enough magnesium, and they're deficient in magnesium. So make sure that you are eating the 7 to 9 servings of vegetables each day. Make sure that you're eating the rainbow. Make sure they have different colors that you are eating. It's not just all green vegetables or all red vegetables. Make sure that you're getting all of the different colors in order to ensure a good level of micronutrients of all of the different types, and then make sure that you're supplementing appropriately. So if you are doing all of this, then you are much more likely to have an optimal pool of resources for that inevitable day that you need them, and that will make you more resilient. Now, next week we are going to be diving a lot more into supplementation specifically, so make sure that you guys are subscribing, make sure you're following. Hopefully this has been helpful. If this resonated with you, make sure you share it with your friends and family. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. So again, this is Floyd Meyer. Have a great day.